Welcome back to Life's the Beach, a mental and emotional health podcast. My name's Miranda, and I'm your host. As we step into the new year, have you ever wondered why some New Year's resolutions are successful and others not so much? I personally love to set New Year's resolutions. I get really excited to look ahead at the next year of life and figure out in each area where I want to grow and see progress. I typically have some good momentum in January and February. Then by March, I tend to fall off and forget to, keep checking in on those goals. Before I know it, it's the end of the year and I'm looking ahead to the next year and remembering, oh man, I forgot to keep up with my New Year's resolutions. I was reading a Pew Research article on New Year's resolutions that mentioned of the 70% of Americans who did not make any New Year's resolutions this year, meaning 2024, the majority, which is 56%, say that their main reason for not doing so is that they simply do not like to make resolutions. It's interesting that such a large percentage of Americans avoid resolutions. Maybe they don't know how to set themselves up for success, or maybe they just don't see the value in setting goals in general. I love how the Sentara Employee Assistance Program website puts it. Goal setting is a necessary step in clarifying your vision, organizing your time and resources, and creating a path forward in both the short term and the long term. Basically, if you want to make the most of your life, you must have goals. I've called in an expert when it comes to setting and reaching your goals. Sheila Crowley is here with me today. She has years of experience helping individuals navigate personal and professional challenges and reaching their goals. So her insight is especially valuable. Thank you for joining us, Sheila.
Sure.
Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sheila Crowley. I work for Sentara EAP, Employee Assistance Program, as the crisis counselor and also their mental health life coach, which is a new layer of EAP that we started here about 2 years ago.
Thanks for being here, Sheila. Can you talk more about your role as a life coach and how you incorporate goal setting into those interactions you have with individuals?
Sure. So I've been doing this on and off for like 20 something years, first in the military and then got out and started raising kids, which as a mom, you become a life coach the minute they come outside of you. Everybody needs goals. Everybody needs to set the standards for what their life is going to be and what they expect of themselves. So at Sentara EAP, obviously we offer assistance therapeutically. We offer work-life balance things. And we decided life coaching was a really important factor to incorporate into everyone's life because it's in the here and the now.
It's great to know that we have such a valuable resource such as life coaching through Sentara EAP. And I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more about setting goals, and that way you can share your wisdom with me and your viewers.
Sure.
So why should you even set a New Year's resolution?
So new year is a new time, fresh start. And we all think of that as this year is going to be better than next year, right? But if we really think about it, we should be setting goals and challenging ourselves throughout the year.
Right.
So if we start with the New Year's resolution and some of the tips that I'll give you here today will help you give yourself grace and help you feel positive about moving forward and about cathartically in your subconscious, you were successful. So we'll talk about goals that you can start small, you can start big, and adjust it along the way.
Yeah, I love what you're sharing about how that positive thinking really does affect your subconscious and how you handle whatever may come up throughout the rest of the year. I know the times where I've been, January through February when I'm working on those goals, I do feel more positive about life and where it's headed. I do feel like that sets me up to handle challenges a little bit more readily.
I also think that innately we try to take care of our physical bodies as much as we can, right? We try to eat right, get enough rest, exercise when we can. Not a lot of people think about the mind, right? So physically you lay down and you're tired, you're tending to your physical body. You're exhausted, you're going to sleep. But you don't realize that your mind has been exhausted all day. So we need to pay attention to that. And I think goal setting makes us more accountable to our mind and to ourselves. And then cathartically, like I said, subconsciously, it fuels the self-confidence moving forward that, yes, I can do this.
Practicing that mindfulness does help keep me motivated towards, reaching my goals, even if I haven't quite reached them yet. Being able to look back and see the progress that was made kind of helps encourage me to keep going with them. So what are some great qualities of a New Year's resolution?
I think the first quality is to make it attainable, right? So what I tell my clients when they call in, say they want to run 5 miles, but they're not a runner.
Right.
So you can't say, that's my goal. I'm going to run 5 miles. You can say, I'm going to start walking. I'm going to run a half a mile or whatever your level is, but make sure it's attainable, because defeating yourself initially will just force you to abandon the goal. And that's what happens a lot with New Year's resolutions, right? They're big, they're bold, it's the new year, and we make these giant goals that in reality, we know ourselves. We know what we're capable of, how our lives are stressed, what is incorporated into every day. People are running families, jobs, traveling, sick parents. There are so many pieces of the pie that are in everyone's life. So make your goal attainable. Keep track of your goal. Keep yourself accountable. You can log your successes, log your failures, adjust them as needed. So, okay, I made this big giant goal and I realized, 3 weeks into it is, I can't get to the gym 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Right. So adjusting that goal and allowing yourself to be fluid and still accepting your successes and moving forward again, and is incorporated into self-care, self-confidence. All of these things will build on each other, that you'll feel good about yourself, even if it's not the initial goal that you set.
Those are some great tips. I think one of the reasons that my New Year's resolutions have not been successful is they've not been attainable from the get-go. You got to be realistic about what you can achieve and the time you can achieve it within. And you mentioned being flexible with your goals too, and having that fluidity. It really does set you up for sticking with it in the long term versus getting defeated and letting go of it altogether.
Right.
So I think that brings us to a really important point I kind of want to touch a little bit more on. How do you set a realistic and attainable goal?
So start small. You can always add to your goal, right? Think through your goal. Think about what obstacles you may encounter. If your kids have practice, 3 times a week, how are you getting to the gym 5 times a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 8 days. There aren't 8 days in a week. So set small, identifiable goals. Keep track of them. Write down in your day, what you feel you have accomplished towards your goal and things that maybe you could work on again tomorrow. So again, it's not giving yourself the negativity of, I just didn't do it today, right? It's feeding yourself the positive parts, right? Our brains focus on thriving towards pleasure instead of pain. Focusing on the positive things that we do every day also sets our realistic expectations. So then when we look at the things that maybe we didn't accomplish, it gives ourselves that way to move forward to tomorrow.
I know personally, I'm a little tad overly optimistic, and I'll really see that big end of the year goal and be excited about it, but not necessarily break it up into smaller goals along the way. And I think that is kind of the key piece that I've been missing through the years in setting resolutions.
And to that point, setting boundaries is a really good way to incorporate that into your goal setting. So the way that I can describe it is, if I came to your house with a pie, say an apple pie, right? You're not going to sit down and eat the whole pie, or maybe you will, but for analogy purposes, we're going to think about cutting up that pie, right? So what I would suggest is you look at your life, because everyone's life is different. So maybe you have 6 pieces of pie, maybe you have 8. Pieces of pie are represented by the stressors in your life. I've got a job, I've got kids, paying the bills, tending to the housework, sick parents, family issues, discontentment, divorce, whatever, how many pieces of pie you have, create your own little pie. You can either write it out or think about it in your head. But setting those boundaries and realizing that I can't take care of all the pieces in this pie at once is really a way for us to step back and look at it. So you say, okay, well, today I'm just going to deal with these 3 pieces of my pie, right? So not every day you're dealing with 8 pieces, you're dealing with 3. And when I say boundaries, and I relate to it as a pie, when we think about cutting the pie, so the 2 pieces, the triangular pieces on the end, those are your boundaries. Yeah. So you keep those boundaries like we do between our personal life and our professional life. It's a way for you to, again, look at it, be specific about it, and say, you know what? These are the things that I want to accomplish today. So if you say, I want to get 3 pieces of the pie handled, and you do, then you've already been successful in your day. But every day we look at our lives and we're dealing with 8 pieces of pie. we're not going to be able to deal with it.
Sure.
And that's what creates the unattainability
Right.
in our success and the way that we view ourselves.
Yeah.
So just take a step back, take a few pieces, and then you'll feel positive about the changes that you're making moving forward.
That's a really helpful analogy for me personally. What I think I've shared already. Now I kind of want some pie though. Sheila, what are the most successful New Year's resolutions and why are they successful?
The ones, like I said, that are attainable, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, if you have career goals for your year, write them down. Don't think that you're going to accomplish all of those goals in January,
Mhm.
right? And then feel like a failure in the beginning of February. Um, if big goal for New Year's resolutions is weight loss, right? I'm going to lose 40 pounds in January, or I'm going to completely cut out carbs, and you're going to make yourself sick. Those are going to be unattainable
Yeah.
because you're going to fail. You're going to stop after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whenever life gets in the way. So make a clear and defined plan. Make sure it's realistic. Make sure to check in with yourself. A big thing to use is support systems.
Yeah.
Right. So make yourself accountable to your best friend, to your spouse or your partner, because telling someone else you're doing it helps you be accountable to yourself,
Sure
right? You
does.
don't want to
Yeah.
look like a failure
Yeah.
to your kids, like, hey, I'm setting these new career goals. It also builds self confidence.
Mhm.
Again, probably the third time I've said it, but it's so important to our self esteem to feel good about ourselves, to feel productive in
Mhm.
our life, to feel like we are every day managing our life to make it better, to make our families' lives better. All of those things promulgate success, right? And that's the goal in doing this, is to create something, not just a New Year's resolution, but something that you can learn from and move forward and incorporate into your life throughout the whole year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know for me, my most successful New Year's resolution was a goal that I had set with my husband just to eat healthier. And it's kind of a broad statement. So we really sat down and talked about why we wanted to do this in the first place. Personally, we each had different reasons why, but we shared that with each other. And then we talked about how we were going to accomplish it. So it wasn't just a broad idea, but we really narrowed it down to we're going to cut this processed food out of our diet, or very specific steps. And it was more of it was a New Year's resolution, but it's one that we wanted to last longer than that.
Yeah.
So I think that may have helped too, because it was a life goal that we wanted to accomplish. Kind of curious though, what are some reasons why New Year's resolutions are not successful, and
Sure.
why aren't they successful?
Sure. And a lot of them aren't, right?
Yeah.
Because we as humans tend to beat ourselves up all the time. To your point of using your husband with setting your goal,
Mhm.
it's huge. It's key, really, to success is to utilize support systems.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be your partner. It can be your best friend, like I said, an adult child, or
Yeah.
even, whoever in your life you hold yourself accountable to. Um, so utilizing support systems can be a detriment if you don't reach your goals, right?
Mhm.
Because I didn't use them, right? I don't want to tell anybody I want to go on a diet and lose 30 pounds, because if I don't make it, I don't want to feel like a failure. But in turn to that, you're not going to feel like a failure to them. You're going to feel like a failure to yourself. So use those support systems. Another reason people uh, do not succeed in their goals is because there's too many obstacles,
Yeah.
right? Like we talked about, there's not enough hours in the day or
Mhm.
days in the week to attain those. If your goal is too extraordinary to fit into your lifestyle, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Mhm.
So keep a log, keep things that are important to you, to keep those obstacles from interfering in your everyday life in trying to achieve your goals. Those are some ways that we can be successful, and ways also in turn that people fail.
One of my least successful resolutions actually was from this past year. I love to crochet, and so I have a huge yarn stash. Since I have a little one at home, it's been kind of sitting around. And one of my goals was to get back into my hobby and to use that yarn up. So I decided I was going to do a temperature blanket. I don't know if you've heard of those before, but you crochet a row based on what the high temperature is for that day. That'll determine what color you use. So at the
Oh,
end of the year, it's supposed to look really cool. You have all these different colors based on what temperature the day was, but that does involve crocheting a row, and a blanket has, quite a few stitches across. So I didn't think from the beginning how I was going to handle, when I was feeling sick or when I got behind, how was I going to catch up? Was I going to do this in a year? Because that's, 365 days of crochet. But for me, it was not attainable, I think, from the beginning. So I think some of what you shared, breaking it down into little smaller checkpoints,
right.
and, I could have checked in at month 3. Where am I? Here's a
Hmm.
catch up day. So needless to say, that blanket still exists, but it's not finished yet. It's kind of folded and in my closet right now. Earlier in our conversation, you did mention, how to recalibrate and get back on track, being fluid with your goals and making sure that
Right.
you can adjust those throughout the year as needed. Do you have any advice on how to do that when you just get stuck or you fall off? How do you get back on track, or maybe determine that your goal needs to change? Maybe it doesn't need to stay
Yeah.
the same goal.
Yeah. Sometimes like writing things down, right?
Mhm.
I tell my clients this also that if you're one of those people that struggle with your mind shutting off, right, which a lot of us do when you're going to sleep, just have a piece of paper next to your bed. And as you have a thought or how you want to change your goal, just reach over and write it down. That paper is going to be there tomorrow.
Mhm.
So subconsciously, we're kind of letting go of that. We're kind of then putting it on the paper, and our mind says, okay, I don't have to think about that right now. So, realizing what was successful about the parts of your goal that you achieved and realizing what was not successful, make a chart, right? And then that's going to allow you to adjust it. It's going to allow you to feel like you can accomplish it.
Mhm.
And again, it's going to allow you to share it with your support systems, again, which I said is a really important thing in recalibrating your life. So, what can I accomplish this week? What can I ascertain out of my day tomorrow? Asking yourselves those questions and being realistic is
Mhm.
going to help you be successful moving forward.
I love that you brought up, writing down your goals, because out of sight, out of mind is really true when it
Right.
comes to resolutions. I think I was following along in my calendar with my temperature blanket, and I'm not a great planner user. I love it at the beginning of the year, but again, it's like my New Year's resolutions. It kind of
Right.
sits on the shelf for the rest of the year. And that's what I was using to track this resolution. So it was kind of out of sight and out of mind for me.
Sure.
But I've heard of people who, write down their goal and they'll take it that step further and put it on their mirror where they are
Hmm.
seeing it every day, wherever
Right.
they're going to be confronted by, "Well, yeah, I have that goal. What am I going to do to achieve that?" So let's say all goes well and you do stick with your New Year's resolution and you are successful. What happens next?
Reward yourself. Celebrate the fact that you've accomplished either something little or something big,
Mhm.
and or everything's just a big part of it. But focus on that positivity. Focus on the fact that it was an attainable goal. Um, Look at the ways that were successful for you and the ways that maybe not so successful, so that when you are changing and moving forward and making new goals throughout the year,
Yeah.
you can look back. And I talked about writing things
Mhm.
down. Set those little reminders for yourself in all different places, because it'll also help you clear your mind and then focus back when, oh, okay, I remember about this,
Yeah.
right? Focus on the positivity that comes in your everyday life. And there's always going to be some negativity, but just take the negativity and find something positive out of it. Some way that you can change it moving forward
Mhm.
to make yourself feel successful.
I certainly feel better prepared to set my goals for 2025. And thank you again for all your tips and wisdom here. I am wondering, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with us?
A couple of things. I'd like to just tell your viewers about the life coaching program since it is pretty new
Yeah,
to the city of Virginia Beach.
absolutely.
So, what the differences between coaching and therapy is probably the number one question that
Hmm.
we get. So, coaching focuses on the present and the future. It answers the question how. How do I get myself to feel better every day? How can I change my daily life to make me feel positive, right? Whereas therapy, it all focuses on you feeling better, right? Coaching or therapy. But therapy is different in the sense that it focuses on the why. It answers the
Hmm.
question why. So it looks more into the past. Why do I keep making these decisions? Why am I choosing this over and over again, right?
Hmm.
So EAP can offer all of these services. It just depends on what your needs are. So the life coaching is just 20-minute sessions,
Okay.
just to kind of help get you on track to where you want to be. It's also very flexible. So it is before work, after work,
Mm.
it fits into your schedule. So
Yeah.
it's still protected by all the HIPAA guidelines. But as long as you're alone in your car, say, you can have a session on your way to work, on your way home from work. Again, talking about the flexibility, talking about you don't have to wait for an appointment.
Oh, really?
You will get a phone call within 24 hours. Most of the phone calls are that day. We say within 24 hours because it's not a man 24-hour line, a man's
Gotcha.
line. Um, so if you fill out the form at night, you get home from work, you'll get a call that next morning. But if you fill out the form during the day, we're checking that coaching enrollment box all day long. People don't have to wait, right? So when you have a problem or you're in crisis or you need help, we wanted that accessibility to be there for the employees. Sometimes the therapists, their appointments are 2 weeks out. So we are trained, we're certified, we're licensed, and we can triage people. But again, they get in the door. So if you fill out that coaching box, we can explain to you what we can do for you, what the therapist can do for you, find the right avenue, just
Mhm.
so we can provide you the help that you need. So I hope that answers the question. What's the differences between coaching
Yeah.
and therapy? It's just the accessibility, the privacy is still there, the flexibility. And by the way, it's done just by phone.
Okay.
So you don't have to go to the office. You don't have to set up
Yeah.
your Zoom. You can do it where it's beneficial to you.
And the sessions are unlimited too, correct?
That is
Or
true.
okay.
So unlimited for coaching,
Yeah.
whereas therapy, you would have a set amount of
Yeah.
sessions based on your company. And this is only for employees, though.
That sounds like a great resource for employees to have help with setting goals and to reach them. I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but I do want to point out the fact that this service is free for employees
Absolutely.
through Sentara EAP, which is excellent. Um, and thank you again for all your thoughts today. I do want to ask you before we close out, we always ask a special closing question to our guests on why they prioritize well being. And for you, I'm just going to ask a little bit differently today. I'm curious, what are some of the reasons that you've come across, or maybe you're aware of? Why do people prioritize their own well being and, make these intentional goals in their lives?
Well, mostly to feel better, right? But what I have seen through working with my clients is that self care or self prioritization feels selfish,
Mm,
right? Because innately, most humans care for other people, want to do for other people before themselves,
yeah.
right? So when we start to say, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time in my day to myself, we always that's the first thing to go, right? I ran out of time today for self care.
Hmm.
I'm just tired. I'm going to bed. Um, Prioritizing you is going to help you be better for those people that you're helping
Yeah.
take care of. Um, so incorporating goals, self care, being mindful, again, it brings it full circle into making you a better person. And those are the whys, right?
Hmm.
Those are the whys of feeling better because we grow, we change, we learn about ourselves daily. And so understanding where you are now in your life versus a year ago versus 6 months from now, understanding where you are now and how to make that better. That's the ways that EAP can help you answer those questions.
I appreciate you sharing, Sheila. Definitely knowing your why helps you stick with your resolutions and keep on track with them. We do have a discussion sheet linked out in the description for anyone who wants to get started on making their New Year's resolutions. And we love to hear from you too. As you're setting those, please do share them with bewell@bbschools.com so we can hear what resolutions you have for the new year. You mentioned earlier also the enrollment form for
Yes.
Sentara EAP. When we close out with our resources, we'll have a QR code that you can scan to take you to that enrollment form, as well as the EAP Life Coaching flyer linked out in our description if you want to hear more about their program. Stay tuned for some additional resources, and remember that life's the beach. Make sure you stop and enjoy it. In addition to today's discussion, here are some resources available for city and school employees. If you or someone you know is in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available to anyone at any time. Call or text 988 and speak with a skilled, trained counselor at a crisis center in your area anytime 24/7. Visit their website, 988lifeline.org, if you prefer to chat with a counselor virtually. Virginia Beach City and school employees are encouraged to contact their Employee Assistance Program through Sentara EAP for short-term counseling and a wide array of work-life services that can help you balance the many tasks you may have. Call Sentara EAP anytime 24/7 for urgent matters at 757-363-6777 or 1-800-899-8174. Or you may call during business hours Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. if you'd like to schedule an appointment for an EAP counseling. Visit their website, sentaraeap.com, company username Virginia Beach, to access a collection of resources, especially for goal setting. That includes webinars, a goal setting worksheet, books, apps, podcasts, and workbooks. They also have articles that you may find helpful as you set your New Year's resolution. Life coaching is a new service that is now available for employees that offers an additional layer of support for your well-being. For more information, view the flyer linked in the description. Scan the QR code to complete the enrollment form.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Life's a Beach, a forum for VB City and school staff to hear and participate in everyday discussions about how we're thinking, feeling, and doing. Speaking of city and school staff, we'd love to hear from you. Please fill out our mental and emotional health topics survey and tell us what you want to hear about in the future. You'll find the link in the description for this episode. And please remember to like this episode and subscribe to our VB Benefits YouTube channel. Just click that button. You can do it. We believe in you.